Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Mike,
I'm Nate.
and we're joined once again by our special guest, Deacon Ken.
Thanks for showing up with us again,
you're
Deacon
welcome.
Ken.
Yeah.
Once again, it's Taco Tuesday, and we are still talking all about deacons. Last week, we talked about St. Stephen, we sang a couple times, and we talked about the origin of the diaconate in the early church. But we thought, as long as we have a real live modern deacon, let's talk a little bit about the deacon in the modern world.
Yes. Now, as Mike pointed out, last week we learned about deacons in the early church, and there are deacons in the church now. But for a long time, the only deacons that were in the church were men who were aspiring to become priests. Can you tell us a little bit about how the permanent diaconate came back into play?
Well, it started actually with a couple priests talking in a concentration camp during World War II.
Wow.
And they saw a need for somebody to go out from the church beyond the walls of the sanctuary and carry out the mission of the church.
To minister to the community, like the original deacons.
Right.
Okay.
So that was in the 1940s, and it wasn't until 1967 that Pope Paul VI made it come to effect, and he did that right after the Second Vatican Council. So we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the reinstatement of the permanent diaconate this year.
Wow.
Which we totally knew.
Yeah.
And that's why we
were
decided
doing
to do
a
this.
thing on deacons. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good for you.
So, what are the requirements of becoming one of these permanent deacons?
Well, you can read in the first letter of Timothy, and there's a list of things it says that a deacon should be. And the first thing it says is serious. And
No having fun if you want to be a deacon.
Yeah, no.
Totally serious all the time.
Which
That doesn't seem
I'm
like you,
pretty
boss.
sure you're putting the shine on the bishop with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, being serious, I don't think means you can't have fun, and you can't tell jokes, and you can't do stuff like this. But I think it means taking your ministry seriously as a deacon, which is the ministry of the word and service. And to be serious about that, not take it lightly.
Okay.
You don't have to take yourself seriously, but take the work seriously.
Right.
That's right. You're a minister of God, so when you are acting in that role, that is a serious thing.
Yeah.
I see.
When I'm carrying the gospel up the aisle as we process at Mass, I always think, wow, these are Jesus' words. So that's serious.
Yeah.
And then when I hold the cup up after the Eucharistic prayer, it's always awesome to me to think, this is Jesus' blood in here that I'm holding. So that stuff is serious.
Okay.
But
And
we come to stuff like this that's fun.
that's a little less serious.
And as we've experienced, you are a very fun-loving deacon when you have the opportunity to be.
Oh, thanks.
So, how did you become a deacon?
Well, the first thing I did, I got a really cool haircut, just like our action figure here.
All right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stone till cold St. Stephen is also.
That's right. So that's the first
It's
thing.
aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Hair is overrated. You don't know that. And so
It is one less thing he has to deal with in the morning.
That's true.
So my journey to becoming a deacon actually started when I was very young, and I used to sit on my grandmother's lap, and she used to talk to me about becoming a priest, and that's kind of what she wanted for me. But unfortunately, she passed away, and those talks stopped. But as I grew up, I worked with my father. He was the janitor at our church, and the caretaker, and the handyman, and the whole works.
Okay.
So I worked with him from a very young age until I graduated high school and moved out. And we had St. Vincent de Paul up there, and we had a delivery truck, and it was me and my brothers. So we'd always done service in the church. And when I got married, my wife and I became very active in the church. We were youth ministers and religious education teachers for about 20-something years.
Wow.
And
You don't look it.
I know. Don't I look good? It's the haircut, man.
He did mention before winning the Deacon Beauty Contest.
Yeah.
That's right. And so just doing service, and the pastor at our parish mentioned to me that I should look into the diaconate, and I kind of just blew him off because I didn't really have an interest. I didn't know what it was, I guess. Was the big thing. And then the deacon at our parish, when I was leaving Mass one day, was shaking my hand at the door, and he didn't let go of it. And he pulled me closer and says, I need to talk to you right now in the sacristy. Let's go.
Somebody's in trouble.
That's what I thought. And he had a serious talk with me. He says, you know, seriously, I need you to consider the diaconate. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to the parishioners and the people in the church. Just do it. If it doesn't work out, it's no big deal. You discern it. And if it's God's will, it'll be. If it's not, it won't. So I did. And I made a deal with God. Told him, you got 6 years to tell me that this isn't for you. And if you do, I'm good. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. 6 years went by. He never told me to get out. So here I am.
There you go.
6 years seems like plenty of chances.
Plenty of chances to tell me to go. But he never did. So.
And that's kind of a short run compared to some of the people looking to enter the diaconate in this diocese now, where they can be in there up to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it's right, everything comes together.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned that you were, at first, a little resistant to the idea. You didn't know really what the diaconate was. So, what is unique about this vocation that really spoke to you and called you to it once you gave God a chance?
Well, I think it's service, and I didn't have to work on that because I was kind of raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of me. That's part of where I came from. The other thing that's unique about it is most deacons are married. Most of them work outside the church, which is different than a priest. Most priests are not married. They live at the church in the rectory, so the church is their world.
Okay.
Where a deacon is both in the church and in the world. So that spoke to me, and being somebody in a workplace that somebody can ask questions of if they have issues or troubles or whatever, it's a pretty humbling experience.
I imagine so.
Yeah. Going back to what you were describing, those original discussions in World War II, we need a man who knows God, who's deep in his faith, and yet can go beyond the walls of the sanctuary, truly to meet people where they are.
Right.
So, we're just about at the end of our show here, but there's one question that everybody here at the Popish Plot has been dying to ask. A couple of years ago, in our parish, we had a mission that was put on with Deacon Ralph Poyo,
My buddy.
and your buddy, and it was commented during that mission on how much alike you two look. Now, have the two of you ever talked about doing like a parent trap kind of a situation? You know, you take his spot, he take yours, and see if anybody notices that you've switched.
No way.
No?
No. He has too many daughters.
Oh. Yeah, I can totally understand. We're both in the $2 club. Yeah, 2 is enough.
That's good. Yeah.
He's a very wise man, our Deacon Ken. Well, again, we'd like to thank you for being with us, to telling us all about your vocation as a deacon, about your heart for service to God's people.
And for helping us to understand the role of the deacon both in the early church and in the modern church a little bit better.
You're welcome.
So, please do us a favor. Encourage this ministry by subscribing to our channel, ringing the church bell so that you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode, and you can leave a comment below telling us about the great things that the deacon in your parish does, or maybe a few ministries that you wish the deacon would consider taking on.
And until next time, remember, live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.